AEW All Out is tonight. It is Sunday, September 5th, and we have one of the most stacked cards in recent memory. AEW's first pay-per-view since Double or Nothing back in May, of course. I love that they do these quarterly pay-per-views because it really allows for hype to build up, and it's a little bit kinder to my wallet, only having to shell out, what is it, $50 4 times a year versus every single month. And AEW obviously doesn't have a subscription network right now, so it's a lot easier on, the monetary side to pay once every quarter. And also for that reason, when the pay-per-views come around, they feel like really big deals. And there is a buzz in the air tonight surrounding All Out, way more than just CM Punk's debut match, way more than Daniel Bryan potentially showing up. There's so much going on. There's so many matches to get into. So for the first time on my YouTube channel, I am very, very excited to bring you all my predictions for AEW All Out. We kick things off on the buy-in with 10-man tag. Orange Cassidy, Wheeler Yuta, Chuck Taylor, and Jurassic Express taking on the team of the Hardy Family Office. Matt Hardy, Jurassic Express, and the Hybrid 2. They're going to kick things off, I feel like, with a nice big babyface win. I'm going with the good guy side of Orange Cassidy, Chuck Taylor, Jurassic Express, and Wheeler Yuta. I'm not too crazy about the Hardy Family Office, to be completely honest. It's weird. I like that they're getting guys in stables because it allows for more people to get TV time, but I just haven't been crazy about this iteration of Matt Hardy. I'm hoping to see Broken Matt get one more run since we have live crowds back. But for now, I'm not too crazy about this stable of people who seem to always lose. It's the Hardy Family Office and Team Taz are the two stables who are kind of relegated to taking a lot of the pinfalls. But this match was only added last minute because the Casino Battle Royale was pushed to the main card after Pac vs. Andrade had to get canceled. Big prediction on that later. And yeah, I think we kick things off with a nice big babyface win. And I just mentioned it, so we might as well give the prediction for it now. The Casino Battle Royale. It's a women's one. The winner gets a title shot, I believe, at the AEW Women's Championship. This could really go any way. These Battle Royals are very hard to predict. They only have a couple people announced so far. I believe like half the field of what is a 21-person Battle Royal. They come out based on the suits. 5 people come in, and then eventually the Joker comes in. I am going to go with a big debuting win for Ruby Soho. That's right, Ruby Soho, the former Ruby Riott in WWE, I believe is going to make her AEW debut tonight. I think she'll enter as the Joker wildcard. She's been releasing a lot of videos hyping up some sort of debut appearance in her post-WWE world, and I think that post-WWE world is in AEW. Ruby Soho is one of those talents that I know a lot of people criticize AEW for signing a lot of ex-WWE talent. Some names can't be ignored. Your CM Punks or Daniel Bryans. How are you going to just pass them up? But other names, it's like, do you really need to bring in everyone? Ruby Riott, or Ruby Soho rather, is one of those people that I feel like, sure, she could fall into the trap of, oh, they're just signing a bunch of ex-WWE talent. But she's someone who I look at similar to a Buddy Murphy or an Aleister Black. A Buddy Murphy, obviously, not necessarily with AEW yet, but someone I really want to see there eventually. Because these are people who had potential in WWE and never really got it fully realized. So I think Ruby Soho is going to be major in All Elite Wrestling, and I think she's going to kick off her AEW career with a big W in Chicago. Let's get a title match prediction in here, shall we? The TNT title match between champion Miro and challenger Eddie Kingston. Pretty easy here. It's going to be Miro. Miro is going to go on an absolute tear. I think he holds the belt for probably at least a year total. I don't see anyone beating him anytime soon. He's really picking up a lot of steam, a lot of momentum, and he is one of those characters I controversially don't really care for. I know everyone loves Miro, everyone loves Rusev. I love charismatic Miro, charismatic Rusev. Not to say the Redeemer isn't energetic and lively with the crowd, but I miss the humor. I miss Miro Day, Rusev Day, whatever you want to call it. Not that he has to be silly, but he's got so much more energy to bring, I feel, as a babyface. He's a good heel, no doubt. He not headlined, but he had one of the marquee matchups at WrestleMania 31 as a heel. But I want to see him as a face sooner rather than later. I'm not in love with this current Miro character, but a lot of people do love him, so who am I to say what they should do with the current TNT champion? But if they're going to be smart, he's going to keep that belt for a while. And Eddie Kingston, great challenger, but I just don't see him having a singles title anytime soon. I think he works great as a singles competitor, as a tag team wrestler, as a mouthpiece if he's running any factions or stables or whatnot. I don't think he needs the title. Miro needs the TNT title way more than Eddie Kingston does, and for that reason, I'm going with Miro to retain. Let's move over to a standard singles match now. Jon Moxley taking on Kojima. Man, oh man, am I excited to see this match, because I'll be honest, I like New Japan, but I haven't watched a lot of New Japan, and I hear a lot of great things about Kojima, but I can't remember the last time I saw a Kojima match. Regardless, this guy was handpicked by Jon Moxley to face him at All Out. We all know the rumors that it was supposed to be Hiroshi Tanahashi originally, and then stuff got mixed up. I don't know if it's COVID delays. I don't know if it was arguments about who was going to go over. Kojima is a guy I think that will gladly take the pin for Moxley. I love that Moxley wants to work with talent from New Japan. I think that's really cool, and I would love to see him get this W, and then Tanahashi comes out and confronts him, and Okada comes out and confronts him. Way back when we heard rumors that Okada was going to be a part of this Forbidden Door crossover that was going on, and it doesn't look like it's ending anytime soon. So once COVID really dies down and we get a lot more mobility between these companies, I think we will see Okada in an AEW ring. I think those coins will fall. And it'll be epic. It'll be epic. But until then, Kojima is a nice, just, I don't even want to say filler opponent, but it's a nice step along the way to getting towards those main event talents from New Japan Pro Wrestling. I got Jon Moxley in a hard-hitting 15-minute slugfest, but getting a decisive win regardless. All right, I'm going to predict 2 matches here at once, and hear me out. Paul White versus QT Marshall. This one is tough because there's 2 ways I see them going about Bryan Danielson's debut. Oh, there it is. Ooh. Either Danielson is going to come out and face QT Marshall because they're going to do an injury angle with Paul White. I think it was very odd to have the Gun Club turn on Paul White at the end of Dynamite last week, leading into the pay-per-view. I feel like the turn should happen at the beginning of a story build, or maybe towards the middle, not at the literal last chapter before the pay-per-view. Regardless, I think that injury attack chair angle came with a purpose, and I originally thought, okay, Marshall is going to come out. He's going to come out with the factory, say he's the giant killer. He sent Cody back to reality TV, even though that's not true. And he's going to gloat and everything. And he's going to say, Aubrey, ring the bell and count to 10. I win by forfeit. And then everyone's going to argue. And then they're going to oblige. 1, 2, 3. And then all of a sudden, I don't know if the count gets reversed or how they do it, but final countdown plays, spotlight on the stage. It's Bryan Danielson. He's here. He faces QT Marshall. Quick, decisive victory. He hits all the greatest hits. The kicks, the label lock, the yes lock, whatever you want to call it, the running knee and everything. And he gets a good win over QT Marshall, who can easily take a pinfall. That said, I watched AEW Countdown today just to catch up on it, and they very much emphasized and advertised Paul White versus QT Marshall. They did not kind of shy away or indicate that the match could get canceled. So for that reason, I think it will still go on. And I think Andrade will wrestle and have his mystery opponent, because he teased it on Twitter, Andrade will have his mystery opponent be Bryan Danielson. But the issue I have with that is Andrade was likely going to go over Pac. And that's actually a weird dynamic, because we heard when AEW first came around that Pac was very particular about whether he won or lost. And yeah, Andrade is one of those guys I feel like who also wants to work in booking decisions into his contracts, just because he touts himself as a superstar. And I'm not really feeling it right now. He's got some wins. He beat Matt Sydal. He lost to Kenny Omega at Triple Mania, even though he was originally supposed to win. That was a whole thing. But he needs a big win. And beating Pac would make sense, but it wouldn't make sense for him to beat Bryan Danielson in his debut match. So that's why I feel like it's a much easier avenue to debut Bryan against QT Marshall, who can take a pinfall loss. But at the same time, they've built up Paul White's AEW debut. So do you push Paul White to a Dynamite, to a Rampage in favor of Bryan, and maybe do a Paul White-Billy Gunn match if that's going to get dragged on the internet? Or do you have Andrade lose his first AEW pay-per-view match to Bryan Danielson? Because Danielson's winning his debut regardless. I don't know. And Danielson is basically confirmed to be on this show. So, I'm torn. I'm going to go with the logistical decision of having it be Danielson versus QT Marshall. Danielson gets a quick 5-minute decisive victory. because if he goes against Andrade, it would have to go like 15, 20 minutes. It would have to be competitive. Not that I'm complaining, but considering they added a match to the buy-in with the big 10-man tag, I feel like it only makes sense that there would be, what am I going with here? There would be a shorter match in the card if they were to add one more last minute. So, official prediction, Paul White doesn't compete, Bryan Danielson beats QT Marshall, and Pac and Andrade, you know, some sort of backstage promo to hype up their eventual encounter on Rampage in a couple weeks. Women's Championship time now. Britt Baker, the champion, taking on Chris Statlander, the challenger. This one's easy. It's going to be Britt Baker, and it's going to be pretty decisive. I hope she doesn't cheat. She doesn't need to. She's one of those heels, honestly, like a tweener, because she plays to the crowd when she was in Pittsburgh, kind of like Punk in Chicago, which I really dig. Make Britt Baker the CM Punk of the women's division. That is freaking epic. But she needs a decisive victory. I don't think she needs to do underhanded tactics. I know she has Rebel and Katie Hayter, I think. I think that's the new one that's on her side. She needs a decisive victory. No need to do like any sort of outside interference. Britt Baker with the lockjaw by submission. All right, here's the difficult one. Chris Jericho versus MJF. Man, I don't know what they're going to do. I would be shocked if Jericho legitimately retires, because I feel like he would have much more grandiose build-up to his swan song. But then again, did he not? The 5 Labors of Jericho were literally a walkthrough of his career, kind of. I mean, Shawn Spears match aside, Wardlow match aside, we got a death match with Nick Gage, which is very reminiscent of his ECW days. We got a match with one of his longtime opponents on WCW in... his name is Juventud Guerrera. I lost it for a second. It does kind of feel like it's at the end. And Jericho is no spring chicken. I believe he's over 50 years old at this point. And he's a bit slower in the ring. He can still go, no doubt. But when we see him hit a lion salt, it's a lot more impressive because we know it's taken a little strain on him to do that kind of maneuver. And it would be huge for MJF to retire the great Chris Jericho, right? But I don't want to see him go. And AEW's never been shy to have like the story culminate in a good ending, rather than just having the younger guy go over for the sake of the younger guy going over. So I could see Jericho winning, but I feel like it'd be foolish to bet against MJF. But then again, I can't be a fool. So I'm going to go with Chris Jericho. He's lost to MJF already so many times before. He's already put him over numerous times. And I think it would be nice to see Jericho get a big pay-per-view win, keep his career intact, have the Inner Circle come out, celebrate with him, and let him have his swan song maybe over the course of the next year. Because there's still so many matchups I want to see. I want to see Jericho versus Punk again. I want to see Jericho versus Daniel Bryan. I need to see Chris Jericho versus Adam Cole, specifically for the promos. Adam Cole got Bebe from Jericho. For people that don't know, Jericho would, he wasn't a catchphrase, but he would say like, "Come on, baby," you know. I need that in my life, and if betting against Chris Jericho means I don't get Jericho versus Adam Cole, I'm not doing that. So I'm going with Chris Jericho to get the W here. 3 matchups left. Let's go with the tag title match. First of the 3, this is one of my most anticipated matches because whenever the Young Bucks and the Lucha Bros are in the ring together, it is pure magic and mixed in a steel cage. We're going to get something crazy off the top. I think Rey Fenix is going to put his life on the line tonight, and it's going to be pretty epic, and I am very, very stoked for that matchup to go down. And is it the Young Bucks time? Is it the Young Bucks time? I don't know. I want to see Santana and Ortiz get the tag titles next. I think that they are due. I think that they are one of the hottest acts within the Inner Circle. That's what the Inner Circle's done such a great job of doing, is hyping each individual member while also elevating the group. Sammy Guevara feels like a really strong TNT challenger within the next couple months. Jake Hager is a legitimate monster. He has wiped off any Jack Swagger stink that he had on. And Santana and Ortiz are one of the best tag teams going today, and I feel like they get overlooked because they're in the giant group setting. They just beat FTR, which I think is going to propel them further to #1 contendership. But I think it makes sense for the Elite to all crumble as once. But the Lucha Bros could take... man, this is tough. This is tough. Do you do the slow burn and have some of the Elite lose their titles at this pay-per-view, leading up to Kenny losing his title against Adam Page at Full Gear. Kind of a spoiler for my Cage Omega prediction. Or do you have the Bucks and Omega lose on the same show? I'm going to go one at a time. I think the Lucha Brothers take this one and will eventually face Santana and Ortiz and drop the titles to them. There's no shame in short reigns. AEW has done a masterful job of having long reigns, but you can mix in a couple hot potato championship changes in there once in a while. So I'm going to go with the Bucks to lose to the Lucha Brothers and have them get a huge win. And then that will elevate the Death Triangle, because I think Pac is destined to lose to Andrade, and that's okay. If the Lucha Bros get the win, then I think it keeps that Death Triangle status high. And if the Lucha Brothers get the win and Andrade beats Pac, and then Andrade pulls the Lucha Brothers over to his faction, then that just elevates everyone. Let's go with the Lucha Brothers to get their first tag team titles in AEW. All right, let's go with the most anticipated singles match on the card. One of the most anticipated matches of the year, of the decade, honestly. CM Punk versus Darby Allin. I'm predicting this before Cage versus Omega, because even a guy like Punk, I would be surprised if this match main events, only because Punk has long professed his frustrations with his championship reign in 2012, because no matter how many times he was on the cards, which he was on every pay-per-view basically, he was never in the main event slot unless he was facing like a John Cena. John Cena's singles matches were getting ahead of him. And he was like, the champion should go on last. It's the championship title. That's what, it makes sense. It elevates the title. So for that reason, I think Punk is going to be like, why would I go on last? Mine is a singles match. Omega's the champion. Have Omega go on last. I think Punk gets the win. This is a very big toss-up, though, because he has been emphasizing how he wants to work with the young guys and help the young guys, and basically alluding to putting people over. But putting people over only has value if you have wins of your own. There's been way too many times where veterans come back and they're back for 2 years and they lose every match, and it doesn't have any merit because they don't have any wins to back it up. Punk needs to rack up some wins before he loses to a young talent to elevate them, and Darby does not need this win. He does not. I know. I can see the headlines already. CM Punk comes into AEW and buries a young talent. Darby Allin is the longest reigning TNT champion in company history. He main evented like 10 straight Dynamites against random challengers. He beat Cody Rhodes clean at Full Gear last year. A guy that everyone loves to say on the internet, Cody Rhodes buries everyone. Cody Rhodes put over Darby clean. He put over Darby in his first match when they had a time limit draw at, I believe it was Fyter Fest in 2019. Darby's had so much good stuff happen to him. I believe I can't remember the last time he lost on pay-per-view, actually. Now, since I think about it, he beat Cody at Full Gear. He won at Revolution with Sting in the cinematic match. He won with Sting at Double or Nothing in the tag match. He can afford a loss here. It's okay. CM Punk should go over, and I think you're kidding yourself if you don't think that. CM Punk to get a big W in front of his massive Chicago home base in what I think is going to be a 15-minute to 20-minute classic that tears down the house. And finally, the main event, Kenny Omega versus Christian Cage. I kind of already gave it away. It's got to be Omega. Christian Cage should not win this. The title is going to be Hangman's possession come November. And a lot of people are saying, oh my God, why did you waste the Hangman story? Now when he comes back, it's going to have less value. I don't think so. I disagree. AEW has done an amazing job at building up matches and building up anticipation and whatnot. And I would be very surprised if when Hangman comes back and they build towards a Hangman Omega match for Full Gear 1 year after they had that singles match at Full Gear in the finals of the AEW Eliminator Tournament, title tournament, excuse me. It's poetry. It's epic. And I think when Hangman comes back, there's going to be a huge roar. They're going to build him up. And it makes sense because even if Punk doesn't main event, that match is going to overshadow the world title match. Do you really want Hangman's big crowning moment to come in a pay-per-view that everyone's just going to be talking about CM Punk afterwards? Like, it makes sense for them to delay it. Omega's going to win. I think he's probably going to cheat. I don't think he needs to, but I think he probably will. The Elite will do something nefarious. And then hopefully the show ends with one of those big, cliffhanger endings like the takeovers used to do back in the day. I hate that I just said back in the day because they're really done, aren't they? Damn. But anyways, those are my predictions for AEW All Out, just to run through them as quick as I can, if I can still remember that. The good guys, you know, Orange Cassidy, Chuck Taylor, all them to get the win at the buy-in, Jon Moxley to beat Kojima, Britt Baker to retain, the Lucha Brothers to win the tag titles, Omega to retain, Punk to win. Who else do we got? Oh my God. Miro to retain, Bryan Danielson to beat QT Marshall instead of Paul White. Who else am I missing? I know there's other matchups out there that I'm absolutely blanking on. I already said Jon Moxley. We got the Casino Battle Royale, Ruby Soho, and whatever I missed. Anyways, it's in the video. You guys know. And I'm excited for this pay-per-view. This is going to be epic. The hype is real. It's authentic. I cannot believe we have another AEW show already. It feels like Double or Nothing was yesterday, and I can't wait to watch it tonight. And I will be bringing you guys some reactions as well. There won't be any video in the corner because pay-per-view, copyright, all that, obviously. But I'll chop it up. I'll be reacting throughout the entire night to all the matchups, and hopefully we see some good stuff. And I am ready to lose my freaking mind when it's clobberin' time. And also when the freaking final countdown hits for Bryan Danielson. It's going to be an amazing night of wrestling. I can't wait for us all to experience it together. Thank you guys so much for supporting this channel, for supporting me, for encouraging me to do more videos, because I love pro wrestling. I'm hopeful that you can get that from these videos and the energy that it brings me. And I can't wait to be doing more. This is going to be a fun ride, and this is going to be a fun show. Let's go AEW All Out tonight, and CM Punk is freaking back. See you then.